Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhagavati Naishtake. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, third chapter, the Lord's pastimes out of Vrindavan, text number 19 onwards. Bhagwan api vishvatma lokabhed pathanigah kamam sisheve dvarvatyam asakta sankhya masitaha. Simultaneously, the personality of Godhead enjoyed life in the city of Dwarka, strictly in conformity with the Vedic customs of society. He was situated in detachment and knowledge as enunciated by the Sankhya system of philosophy. While Maharaj Yudhishthira was the emperor of the earth, Lord Shri Krishna was the king of Dwarka and was known as Dwarkadhisha. Like other subordinate kings, he was under the regime of Maharaj Yudhishthira. So Maharaj Yudhishthira was the emperor of the world, he was Chakravarti Samrat, and Krishna was who? King of Dwarka. Actually, he himself wasn't even the king. Maharaj Ugrasen was officially the king. But Krishna was known as Dwarkadhish. But regardless, he was still technically under the regime of Maharaj Yudhishthira. Although Lord Krishna is the supreme emperor of the entire creation, while he was on this earth, he never violated the principles of the Vedic injunctions because they are the guide for human life. Regulated human life according to Vedic principles, which are based on the system of knowledge called Sankhya philosophy, is a real way of enjoyment of the necessities of life. Without such knowledge, detachment, and custom, the so-called human civilization is no more than an animal society of eat, drink, be merry, and enjoy. So the Vedic system, the Sankhya philosophy, is given so that we can follow it properly and live according to Vedas instead of living like animals. The Lord was acting freely as he willed, yet by his practical example he taught not to lead a life which goes against the principles of detachment and knowledge. So Sankhya philosophy means like analytical study of the universe, but basically it gives knowledge and detachment. But that doesn't mean there is no enjoyment. Of course, there is plenty of enjoyment, but in the right consciousness, right mood. Attainment of knowledge and detachment, as very elaborately discussed in Sankhya philosophy, is a real perfection of life. Knowledge means to know that the mission of human form of life is to end all the miseries of material existence, and that in spite of having to fulfill the bodily necessities in a regulated way, one must be detached from such animal life. Fulfilling the demands of the body is animal life, and fulfilling the mission of spirit soul is the human mission. But 99% of the population is basically trying to fulfill the demands of the body, trying to keep the senses happy, which they cannot anyway. They are completely impossible to satisfy the senses. But the whole world is running after that crazily. स्निग्धस्मितावलोकेन वाचा पीयूषकल्पया चरित्रेणावदेन श्रीनिकेतन चात्मना. He was there in his transcendental body, the residence of the goddess of fortune, with his usual gentle and sweetly smiling face, his nectarian words, and his flawless character. In the previous verse, it is described that Lord Krishna, being situated in the truths of Sankhya philosophy, is detached from all kinds of matter In the previous verse, it is described that he is a residence of the goddess of fortune. In the present verse, it is described that he is a residence of the goddess of fortune. These two things are not at all contradictory. Lord Krishna is detached from the variegatedness of the inferior nature, but he is in eternal blissful enjoyment of the spiritual nature or his internal potency. So Krishna is always enjoying in his internal nature, interior nature, spiritual potency, but he is always detached from the material nature. One who has a poor fund of knowledge cannot understand this distinction between the external and internal potencies. In Bhagavad Gita, the internal potency is described as a para prakriti. So internal potency is para prakriti. Para means which is beyond this material world, which is transcendental. In the Vishnu Puran also, the internal potency of Vishnu is described as Parashakti. The Lord is never detached from the association of Parashakti. This Parashakti and the manifestations are described in Brahma Samhita as Ananda Chinmaya Ras Pratibhavitanti. The Lord is eternally joyful and cognizant in the taste derived from such transcendental bliss. Negation of the variegatedness of inferior energy does not necessitate negation of the positive transcendental bliss of the spiritual world. It's a nice line, Prabhupada. Negation of the variegatedness of the inferior energy, material energy. Even if we negate it, if we don't want to enjoy it. But that doesn't mean the person cannot have pure, positive, transcendental bliss of the superior energy of the spiritual world. One can definitely have that. And that is a real bliss. That is a real enjoyment, actually. Therefore, the Lord's gentleness, his smile, his character, and everything related to him are all transcendental. Such manifestations of the internal potency are the reality, of which the material shadow is only a temporary representation, from which everyone with proper knowledge must be detached. So yes, we have to develop detachment, but that is only possible if we develop attachment for the positive thing, for the real, for the spiritual world. The soul is full of pleasure. It's made of Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Krishna is made of Sat, Chit, and Ananda. We are part and parcel of Krishna, so the soul is also made of Sat, Chit, and Ananda. So soul is like in case of Krishna, he is not looking for Ananda. He is full of Ananda himself. In case of our individual soul, the jivas, since we have or since we do recognize ourselves with the body, we have wrongly placed our source of happiness. So we are looking for happiness. Actually, we are full of happiness, but we have forgotten that. So that is why so many philosophers, they say, look for happiness inside. But people don't know how. What do you mean by look for happiness inside? Inside, when I close my eyes, I fall sleepy. What to look for happiness? Where is the happiness? Actually, that's also partially true. The real happiness the soul finds is when he is engaged in his service, in his constitutional position of serving Krishna. So it is inside, but at the same time it is outside. Inside means it's a spiritual happiness one is looking for. Outside, why? Because outwardly we have to serve Krishna. It's not like I can meditate on Krishna and think this is done. No. So physically we serve Krishna. And that is a real happiness. So this bhakti yoga process, it actually defies both material way of living, materialistic say, what are you? You guys are wasting your time. What kind of happiness you will find here? In the temple, chanting the same name every day, whole day, every day. At least find a new name, because they don't understand. We are chanting the same Hare Krishna Maha mantra, but every time it's giving different realizations, and we are relishing the same Hare Krishna Maha mantra differently. We are relishing the same, dressing the deities, serving the deities. Same festivals that come every year. Balram Purnima is there. Janmashtami is not far away. Prabhupada Appearance Day. Then Radha Ashtami. Then Varaha Dwadashi. So many festivals come one after the other. And the same stories we repeat. It's not like every Janmashtami there will be a different story or different lecture. It will be pretty much the same lecture, but everybody enjoys that. Because Krishna, Krishna's name, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's form are full of ananda. They're not looking for ananda, they're full of ananda. And being in touch with that, we always become anandamaya. So I said, so we defy both the people. So one is materialist, and the others are like yogis, those kind of transcendental. They're looking for happiness within. Well, what kind of happiness you find within? If it is that within is not connected with Krishna, what kind of happiness one can find? Okay, one might come to the level of Brahm Jyoti, which is after also very difficult um, struggle. Even if it comes to the level of Brahm Jyoti, all there is there are no material problems. But spiritual bliss, if we are looking for, that's not there either. So we look for happiness both within and without. And that's what Bhakti Yoga is. And this is what we are supposed to do. So when we are engaged in this kind of looking for happiness, we'll definitely not even care for the happiness that everybody talks about, which is a material happiness, happiness related to this body and the senses. Of course, when we are serving Krishna, when we are engaging in devotion service to Krishna, bodies and senses will be pleased. Eyes will be happy, ears will be pleased, nose, tongue, especially the tongue, by chanting and by eating Krishna Prasad. Nothing else the tongue requires. But when we don't have that positive engagement or positive options for the tongue is looking for happiness, it will go towards the wrong side. So wrong side is what? Gossiping, singing movie songs, talking politics. Tongue is used for talking, or talking all nonsense things about sports, about other activities, eating all sorts of nonsense things. And then when eating comes, for the materialistic people, the best form of eating is meat eating. Because it has become a trend. And after meat eating, they have to drink. So this is all taste of the tongue. But how much you can enjoy that way? Not a whole lot. And moreover, it's a source of misery, because if we have killed an animal to eat it, well, we have to pay for it. We'll get the reaction. And big time reaction. So the happiness that we are supposed to look for, and every soul is looking for happiness, that's for sure. Even the animals, they are looking for happiness. They just don't know where to find. Human beings can know where to find. But if they still don't, then they're wasting their life, living like animals. Text 21. Imam lokam amum chev ramyam sutaram yadum yadum reme kshanadya dattakshana istri kshana so hridaha. The Lord enjoyed his pastimes both in this world and in other worlds, higher planets, specifically in the association of the Yadu dynasty. At leisure hours offered by night, he enjoyed the friendship of conjugal love with women. The Lord enjoyed in this world with his pure devotees, although he is the personality of Godhead and is transcendental to all material attachments. He nevertheless exhibited much attachment for his pure devotees on the earth, as well as for the demigods who engage in his service in the heavenly planets as powerful delegated directors in the management of material activities. So the Lord enjoyed with his devotees. This is what he does. Again, he is not looking for enjoyment. The enjoyment is there in him. He is full of enjoyment. Just devotees in his company, they become happy, and he, in the company of devotees, he exhibits his happiness. He displayed special attachment for his family members, the Yadus, as well as for his 16,000 wives, who had the opportunity to meet him in the leisure hours of night. All those attachments of the Lord are manifestations of his internal potency, of which the external potency is only a shadow representation. So Krishna displayed special attachment for his family members, the Yadus, and especially for his queen, 16,108 queens. And see, Shloka also says, and Prabhupada is saying that Krishna had the opportunity, or the gopi, or these wives had the opportunity to meet him at the leisure hours of night. We also say the same thing. If the young women and men, they go out in the middle of the night and they want to enjoy each other's company, that's a company of opposite sex, at the middle of the night, a later part of night, when nobody's watching. But see, they say Krishna is also doing the same thing. But Krishna's doing and our doing are completely different. We cannot imitate Krishna. Krishna, see, Prabhupada again and again saying, all these attachments of the Lord are manifestations of his internal potency, of his spiritual potency. Our doing those activities, our meeting girlfriends and girls meeting their boyfriends in the middle of the night, has nothing to do with spiritual energy. It's all material, completely material, under the three modes of material nature. But Krishna is not like that. In the Skand Puran, Prabhas Khanda, in the topics between Lord Shiva and Gauri, there is a confirmation of his internal potential manifestations. There is mention of the Lord's meeting with 16,000 cowherd damsels, although he is a Hansa, transcendental supersoul and maintainer of all living entities. The 16,000 cowherd damsels are a display of 16 varieties of internal potencies. This will be more clearly explained in the 10th canto. It is said there that Lord Krishna is just like the moon, and the internal potential damsels are like the stars around the moon. But because we have our mundane intelligence, mundane mind, we cannot understand and appreciate these pastimes of Krishna, especially his pastimes of dealing with the gopis or these queens. We think he's just like one of us. So that is why we have to go through 9 cantos, understand Krishna's position, before we can go into his intimate pastimes. So we don't make a mistake in understanding his pastimes, his position, etc. It is said that even a devotee who takes complete shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, he gets beyond the modes of material nature. Devi hi esha gunamai, mam maya durakte, mame ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. Although this energy of mind, Maya, is very difficult to overcome, But one who has taken shelter of me, Krishna says, of my lotus feet, he just crosses over this Mayak ocean very easily. And it is explained that one who has taken shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, the whole Bhavsagar, the ocean of material miseries, the size of the Bhavsagar becomes what? It becomes like a impression created by calf's foot. It's like only 1.5 inch in diameter. If the calf is running around the feet of the calf, they create or the hoofs of the calf, they create some depression in the soil. So it is said the one who has taken shelter of lotus feet of Krishna, for him the Bhavsagar becomes that small, little bit. And it's very easy to cross over. So if the devotees who have taken shelter of Lord Krishna, they can overcome material nature. Why not Krishna himself? So Krishna himself cannot be under the molds of material nature. So whatever activities he does, they're all transcendental. Even meeting with these queens in the middle of the night. What to speak of queens? Queens are in his own palace. The gopis in Vrindavan, they would meet him in the middle of the night. In fact, he would, every morning, he would go out and he would milk the cows, and Radharani and Sakhis will come and they have some playful fight over there. And then after his prasadam breakfast, he goes with his cowherd boyfriends to Govardhan and to different parts of Braj with the cows, 900,000 cows for Krishna alone. And they leave the cows for grazing and the boys play, and then Krishna and Balram and other boys always kill 2 or 3 demons every day. This is what comes our sending every day. So towards the middle of the day, it is said that Srimati Radharani and gopis, they would come to Govardhan and Krishna would meet them because all the other cowherd boys would be taking rest, taking nap after lunch. So Krishna would meet all the gopis. And then in the evening, Krishna would come back with the cows at Godali Vela. And all the cowherd boys come back and he goes to Yashoda Maya. Yashoda Maya takes care of Krishna, bathes him, feeds him, and then puts him to rest. And when everybody is sleeping, Krishna gets up again. And then he goes to Banshi Bhat. He goes to the banks of Yamuna, the gopis are waiting. And then he performs this nocturnal pastimes in the middle of the night with the gopis with Srimati Radharani. Then again, early morning, he would run from there and come back to Vrindavan. He would again enter his bedroom, nobody would notice. And then Yashoda Maya wakes him up and he pretends that he was fast asleep and he just woken up. And then the next day, whole day starts again. Of course, with Krishna's Yogmaya potency, internal potency, all these pastimes are Nitya Nutan. They are new every day. It's not like he has performed pastimes so many times he gets bored. No, all the pastimes are new every day. So he enjoys everything, all the pastimes, dealing with everybody. And he hardly takes rest because he is always running around to take care or to have this proper relationship with all his devotees. He doesn't take rest. So this is what Krishna is. He enjoys with his devotees, and all he enjoys is transcendental, superior, spiritual nature. And the devotees who are with him, they're also in the same category because they also cannot enjoy anything material. So this is a special attachment and relationship with his devotees, whether in Dwarka or Mathura or in Vrindavan. So anyway, I'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments. Okay, so we will stop here. You all have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri